Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And welcome back, everybody. There's a word that's been going around for a few months, authentic or authenticity. And in theory, it sounds great. We want to be authentic, at least we think we want to be. What exactly does it mean? And of course, you want to engage with like-minded people who are being authentic. We're going to boil that down today and how it can really pilot your life forward. And this is what she does. She's a certified life coach. She's a TEDx speaker. She has so much great insight. And I love how when she gives you her clarity and mindset, it is clear. And also she's authentic, in my opinion. You can even catch her on billboards everywhere. Mehta is with us. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much, Steve. I'm doing fantastic, especially after seeing you after a couple of weeks. So, it's so great to be here, and especially talking about authenticity, which is something that we touched upon in our previous episode about talking about transparency and how that ties in. But what does it really mean to be authentic? Do you have an answer for that, Steve?
Let me think about that for a minute. To be you, truly you, with no filters. It's you. You're being genuine with somebody else.
And isn't it harder than what it sounds like? That's what I feel like sometimes.
Yeah, because we overthink it sometimes. And also we filter. Well, I'm going to a business meeting. I got to be careful what I say around these people over here and what I do over there. You're not really being authentic. You're not.
Right. Right. And so when I hear that, right, especially when you gave me that compliment of being authentic, and something that comes to mind is just saying for what it is. And I've gotten these couple of phrases from the mentors that I work with, and they say clarity is kindness. And it goes along with this phrase of say what you mean and mean what you say. And one of my relationship coach tells me this every single call. Michelle, are you saying what you mean and mean what you say? And when you think about it, and I think about it, yes, majority of the time. And I say majority of the time because there are the times where I'm like thinking, what if I offend somebody? What if they don't like me for who I am? Especially in the dating space, right? Can they handle all of me? Can they handle some of me? And that is where I struggle with not being authentic 100% of the time because I don't want to hurt them. But I'm also doing a disservice because I'm hurting myself at the same time.
Yeah. How many times have you been in a situation with somebody, let's say you're dating them, and you're not really saying how you truly feel because it probably will set them off. So it's the eggshell thing, or almost like the relationship game where you're kind of navigating through, you're swimming through, the sharks in the water, so to speak. You're truly not being authentic. And think about this. In every one of those situations, there are usually relationships that, let's be honest, they aren't good. Whether they're personal, whether they're business related, if you feel that you can't really be yourself, they're not great relationships.
Right. And I think that's what happens. And I tell people this on a frequent basis. And I say, when my heart is open, my mind shuts off. And I will not remember what I've said because it came from the heart. And what happened, like people are like, well, don't you remember everything that you say? I said, no, because when my heart's open, the logical side of me turns off. It's a creative space that takes over. And in that moment, I find myself being the most authentic because in our mind, we filter out the information. But if the mind's shut off and the heart's open, there is no room to filter.
In my journey, I pilot by the truth. Everything is about the truth. It doesn't lie. It is what it is. And I guess it comes down to speaking your truth. It's the same thing. If you're coloring it, if you're filtering it, you're not really speaking your truth. You're not even being true to yourself.
Right. And that's the most important thing, which also creates fear around us, right? Which you mentioned earlier on this call about the fear of the fear of saying something wrong, the fear of saying something right. They say honesty is the best policy. Right? Stating the truth. It could hurt somebody. It could benefit somebody. How do we navigate that in the terms of authenticity?
All right. This is a good one. So honesty is the best policy. Sure. should you always be honest with somebody in terms of what you're thinking? I'm going to have to process that. I wonder.
Right. I'm going to have to process that too, right? It's like, again, who is the audience? Who are we speaking to? Right? That makes a big difference, right? And what are we trying to get out of it, right? When we say clarity is kindness, asking for feedback. And in the neuro-linguistic programming world, we say feedback. There is no failure. There's only feedback. There is no failure. There's only feedback. And that feedback is basically telling us how we can improve or how we do not need to improve. And everything's perfect the way it is.
I need to write that down. Hold on. You think I'm kidding? I'm not. Fear is only feedback. And to process that further, that feedback is?
There is no failure. There is only feedback.
And you said something after that. The feedback is telling you
if you did something right or if you did something wrong. It's just information for us.
So when we pondered a moment ago whether honesty is the best policy and should you really be honest with somebody because there could be repercussions for that. What came to mind immediately was my email or text filter. And those three things: is it kind? Is it true? We know it is. Is it necessary? So even though you're being honest and that's the truth, is it kind? That's a gray territory. And is it necessary? So where's the benefit going to be in telling somebody, what are you wearing? Why, what are you doing? Whatever it is,
right.
Is that necessary? If they like it, good for them. If they look like completely ridiculous in what, let's say they're wearing something that's risque, whatever it is, you might be doing them a favor, necessary, by telling them that. So I wonder if that filter applies to honesty as the best policy. What do you think?
Well, I think so too. And when you were thinking about that, as women, sometimes we wear lipstick and it gets on our teeth. I would love to have a girlfriend tell me, hey, you know what? You got lipstick on your teeth. Or, hey, you know what? Your eyeliner smeared, right? Because that's when they're looking out for you.
I just did that the other night. I'm not even kidding. I was at a networking event. It's somebody I know, the wife of somebody I've worked with, whatever, but we're all close. And she comes walking in and she's like, hey, everybody, how you doing? I'm talking with her. I'm like, just want to let you know you have lipstick on your teeth. And then she cleared it. And then 5 minutes later, it was back. I'm like, just want to let you know it's back there again. It was necessary. And she appreciated it. Right.
Right. And a lot of people, it's like you want to make sure, if there's cilantro in your teeth, you want to let them know because that means that you're showing up for them. Right. Now, if you don't say it, right, I don't want to hurt their feeling, but then you're giving them the opportunity to not be their best selves. Right. So it is a double-edged sword. And it depends upon, again, who are you speaking to?
Yeah. But you know what? I think that fits the filter. Because you're helping them be their best self. So it is necessary. You are being kind. And of course, it's there. It's true. So maybe that filter works. I'm just hypothetical here, throwing it out.
Right. I mean, that goes back to one of our previous conversations of vulnerability, authenticity, and courage, and how you need all three of those as part of your meal plan, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it shows up in that same way, right? Because if you're not authentic, then you're selling yourself short. And if you are authentic, then it's that phrase, right? Take me as I am or watch me as I go. And the right people will keep coming to you. And you think about this one too. We have the relationship with our parents, with our grandparents. You could be throwing the biggest tantrum on the planet. They will still love you no matter what. But when we expect that with our friends, they sometimes walk away. So when you're with the right people, you can essentially do no wrong. When you're with the wrong people,
sure,
you can do essentially nothing. Nothing goes right. Nothing goes wrong. So it comes back to who is in your circle and how are you showing up in your circle?
Well, let's be honest. Yeah, it might not even just be friends. Even with family, there might come a point where you're being authentic. They're not appreciating it for whatever reason, and that's on them. So maybe there's time for a change there. So I'm gonna throw this question to you. Do you feel that you are always 100% authentic?
Wow, that's a really strong question. I'm going to say majority of the time, yes. And the time that I'm not is because I'm unsure of where I stand in that situation. One of the areas that I have a hard time being 100% authentic is in the dating phase, in the dating world. How do I let that person know, hey, you know what? We can only be friends. Or how do I say it in a way where, you know what, this relationship isn't working out? Especially when I've come from a place, when I come from my unconscious programming of men know everything, men are taller, men are bigger, men are older, they're more wiser. How can I, as a woman, have a voice against them? It's always going to be their word over mine. And if that's my subconscious programming, I'm always not going to be in that 100% authentic space because I'm afraid of them. I'm afraid they're going to hurt me. I'm afraid that, things might not go my way. And so that is the one area of my life that I'm consistently working with my relationship coach and helping me understand, how do I show up without that fear? Because me keeping them along, I'm actually stringing them along and playing with their emotions. Me cutting it off, dismissing them, puts me back in control and say, you know what? I'm giving them feedback like, hey, look, I'm not the right person for you long term. We may be great as friends because that boundary is different. But as a romantic, lifelong partner, there are certain things that I'm not okay with.
And it is challenging because, some people don't want, and I'm just going general here, don't want to be alone. Or there's something that you like about the relationship, but it's not, it's not the right relationship. So you're afraid to really speak your truth and be authentic. And I'm speaking from experience, so I'm not 100% in that. I'm going to answer that, no. But it's usually in those types of relationships, friendships, business relationships, I would say 100%, 99%. I don't know. It's hard to gauge. But yeah, it's navigating closer relationships like that, unless you're at the point where you're in a partnership, marriage, whatever it is, and you've come to that point now where you see eye to eye, you understand each other. Well, then I call it the emotional window in your car. Comes down. Well, sometimes it's, it's kind of, maybe halfway up, and it depends on who you're with. It comes down. Other times it's putting a window up. I'm not talking. It's challenging.
It is. And that's what I learned today was, I was programmed, from generations, right? My grandmother, when she was growing up, especially when she was getting married, they had to cover their entire face in front of men. So from that to 2024, women have a voice. Women are able to speak up. And so from going from no voice to having a voice is also a generational programming, right? Part of our unconscious mindset. It's part of our belief system, right? Women back in the caveman days were nurturers. Men were the gatherer, they were the hunters. Women were the gatherers. So having that ability of not having the right to vote, not having the right to speak up, to here we are, having the ability to be equal. But is it really equal? It's really not, because even men get paid more. So it's that shift that we're constantly playing. It's that dance that we're doing, is how much power do women have? How much power do the men have? And in the relationship, is it truly equal or not? And it also depends upon how men are showing up. And especially in the dating community that I usually am part of, I'm part of the Indian dating community. I've dismissed a lot of Indian men because of the fact that it has to be on their terms. And I'm like, absolutely not. I'm not letting you be on your terms 100% of the time. You have to honor me, right? You can't just be like, I want to meet you tonight when you've never made contact with me throughout the week. How does that work, right? I'm not going to drop everything just to hang out with you, right? So that's my authentic way of saying, you know what? Hey, pause. Let's honor what I need first, and then I'll cater to you. And having that ability to speak up. And I think that's where my authentic struggle lies, because sometimes I have that fear. Oh my God, what if they yell at me? What if they cuss me out? What if they scream? What if they leave? What if scenarios? Versus just saying, you know what? I'm just going to take a pause and just say, what is it that I really want? And getting that clarity. Because clarity is kindness. And by me giving them that feedback, that's saying, hey, you know what? As much as I love hanging out with you, it cannot be one-sided. It is a relationship at the end of the day. It's a dating relationship. Both of us are equal. So that takes a lot of courage and vulnerability to speak up, to say that.
Isn't it feel wonderful when you've gotten closer to being 100%? And we identified, I don't think any of us are really 100% authentic. But when you get closer to it, think back maybe 5 years ago to now, and how you really feel that you're more, because of doing the work and the coaching and you being coached and having mentors, where you've gotten to the point where you're comfortable in your own skin. Like, this is me. I love me. I'm good with me. Sometimes I have to bend a little bit for others in my authenticity scale. But isn't it a wonderful feeling when you're you?
It is. And that is sometimes the hardest path to walk because we are not really ourselves. We are belief systems of other people as well.
Mm-hmm. And
the compliments that we've gotten from our parents, our
Sure.
family, our friends, or even the judgment, that all shape us. So going back to saying, who's really saying this? And in what context is someone saying this?
And it's not just the outside influences in the belief system. It's your own as well. I mean,
Yes.
you could have heard a passing comment when you were 5 years old and internalized that became part of your belief system. Or you bullied on the playground, but that is at the hands of somebody else. But all of these things, we're walking around with all of them, and that's getting in the way of our authenticity. If we, baby was born, there was no challenges, nothing along the way. How authentic that kid might be. I'm not going to compare people to animals, but, look at your dog or a cat. Are they being authentic? Yeah, they really are. I think my dog's very authentic. I don't think he's hiding anything, covering up anything. What you see is truly what you get. Because they don't allow things to influence them. They don't have belief systems. They have memories. So if it's a bad memory, I'm not going to do that again. Or that person wasn't nice to me, I'm not going around them. But short of that, they're authentic. They're authentic.
And it's a hard pill to swallow too, because we live in an unfiltered environment. Even though we want to be in a filtered environment or the authentic, filter, but we live in an unfiltered environment, especially with next week being elections. There's a lot of tension around, and a lot of people are not able to speak their truth because they're afraid that, oh my God, if I choose one or the other, I'm going to lose friends. I'm going to lose family.
Right.
And just saying, you know what?
Really
I truly believe X, Y, Z because, and if you back it up with clarity, you're going to give them the feedback of kindness, and you're actually going to support them in their journey of making a decision versus not saying anything back.
It's a really great point when you come to politics, and I don't engage in that or religion. However, when it comes to politics, are we really being authentic? Because some of us may be, that's what I believe, and that is the best candidate. I don't care what you say. Then there are others that just kind of lean back because they don't want to deal with the others, whether they agree or not, but they're really not being totally authentic. But I don't know if that's a bad thing. I wonder, because you don't want to have that conflict. I don't want to deal with it. I'm just going to lean back on it. So I don't know.
Well, sometimes being in peace, right? Creating that inner peace for yourself is being authentic to yourself.
Yeah.
Sometimes people don't engage in conflict because it creates turmoil in their bodies. And they're like, you know what? I like the peace and the zen in my body. So I'm going to stay away from things that bother me. Right. But again, if someone's asking you how you really feel, and if you give them a BS answer or a fake answer,
right,
you're doing yourself a disservice, and you're doing them a disservice as well.
Yeah. Usually people don't ask you how you feel. They just tell you how they feel and wait for you to tell them. And I usually don't say anything. I just lean back and, whatever. Yeah. So I guess maybe we can say that's our authentic pass. We're taking a pass on that one because it's for self-preservation of your peace.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We're identifying a lot here. I didn't even realize that, how that,
and it just ask yourself, right? As I'm giving you guys homework assignment, ask yourself, am I being authentic in this situation? Is my heart, mind, body in alignment when I'm making this decision? Heart, mind, body, is it in alignment with the conversation I'm having, with the decision that I'm making, with the people that I surround myself with? If the answer is yes, you're 100% authentic. If the answer is no, there's something that you might be hiding that you may want to explore on.
Do you feel, as you walk this journey and do the work and identify these things, that you more easily identify when you're not being authentic? So again, we go back 5 years. They say that people reevaluate their lives every 5 years. So I'll use that as, a reference point. Yeah. 5 years ago, would you realize that you weren't being authentic? But now, you're not being authentic. Like right away. You just know right away.
Right away, because I would feel triggered. Actually, a lot of my core values came from being triggered triggered in the dating space, triggered being with friends or with family. And I'm thinking, why am I anxious? Why am I angry? I'm usually a very happy person. Why am I not that anymore? What's bothering me? And that's how it came about my core values. Every time that was triggered. So then 5 years later, I now live by these values and make sure that, look, if I say something, consider it done. If I don't say something, then there's something for me to work on. And there's a gap between getting it done and not getting it done. And that's what I need to explore with my mentor or my coach at that time.
So are you referring to when you hold back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there is something that's bothering me that I am not able to, because I don't know what I don't know. And sometimes I don't know what's bothering me. It takes a conversation to bring that out.
When we talk about dating, have you ever been in a situation where maybe you're with somebody, whether it's longer term or a new situation, let's say you're having dinner and you're thinking to yourself, why am I here? This is not supporting me. I'd rather be home watching TV. I rarely watch TV. I'm loving it more now for those situations. But do you find yourself not saying anything and just waiting for the evening to end and then just move on? Is that a bad thing not to say something and be authentic? Or is it going through that filter again where is it kind? Is it necessary? We know it's true. The match is not there. Something's not working for you, and that's your truth. And you can't deny that. If you don't say something in that situation, or you're not being authentic.
100% agreed, because you're basically not honoring what you're feeling. Yeah. And when you don't honor what you're feeling, you're actually doing yourself a disservice. You're selling yourself short. Yeah. And many times on dates, I'm like, man, I can't wait for this to be over. Like, there's no connection. But I'm there anyways as a polite person to see how it plays out. And then in a day or two, I'm like, you know what? I really appreciate your time, but unfortunately, I can't be in this much longer. Right. And just move from there. And I remember doing that in the 40 date project. I had to dismiss everybody that I met right afterwards. And the answer was because I'm not ready for a long-term relationship. I'm doing market research at the moment. And until I'm done with my market research, I cannot date you a second time. And a lot of people got mad at me. Oh my God, how could you? And a lot of people respected that because they're like, wow, you're doing market research. Let me know how that goes. So
you mentioned this before, but I'm laughing inside because market research. How do you define market research in this situation?
Well, market research is basically, are my core values aligned with this person, right? Okay. Number one. Number two, what is the generalization that they have about the opposite sex? How are they treating the women around them, right? What am I learning from this experience? Why did I say yes to this person in the first place? What was the attraction point? And it was an entire Excel spreadsheet that was created. And I had to put in the date where I met them, where I met them, the turn-offs, the positive, the negative attributes, generalization of the opposite sex. It was like a whole project that I did. Wow. And through that, I realized, the reason why I kept dismissing people is because they were not an equal partnership to my life. It was always about them. And I say always because that has been my track record. Is when they make it all about them and less about me, I walk away because I say, you're not even interested in what I have to offer. And I'm not here to cater to your needs 24/7.
As you should walk away.
I have needs too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have needs too. And relationship is 50-50 in my opinion, right? You learn about me, I learn about you. And when you're with the right person, you can do no wrong. And when you're with the wrong person, you can only do wrong things because they're the wrong person, right? So navigating that. And Steve, I want to go back to the point. You had mentioned something about fear before we started the podcast. I would love for you to say that line again.
So I heard this recently and it very much resonated with me. And I think it comes in the wheelhouse of authenticity. But we all have fear. Fear holds us back from everything. But when you found your purpose in life, whatever that purpose is, and you have a fear about maybe moving forward, let's say you have a business idea and you have some fear about that, but it is your purpose. You feel it. It's your purpose. You can never fail. The universe will not let you fail because that's why you are here. That's your purpose. Have no fear.
I love that. And it goes back to the couple episodes we talked about the soul purpose, SOLESOUL. When you're on your soul purpose, you cannot do anything wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it aligns with that. And in final closing here, I was texting my friend Vinny. We're going to go out Friday night, check out a couple of bands. I'm going to tell him, we're doing market research. We're doing market
There you
research.
go. You should. And you know what? It's really important to just manifest, right? Think about who you're attracting, why you're attracting them. What are they saying about the same sex? What are they saying about the opposite sex? And just keep a mental note, because you will see a pattern in the people that you bring around you.
100%. It's very true. Yeah. Once you start being mindful of it, the clarity is there. It all comes together. How do we find you, Michelle? What's the best way?
Number one, you can find me on all things social media. That is LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook at I am Michelle Mehta. And that's IamMichellellemehta. And you can also check out my website at michellemehta.com. And that's MichelleMehta.com. And if you want to know more, I'm also offering a free consult as well. So if you want to learn more about my 40-day project, how that works, market research, feel free to book a call with me, because that is also going to help you become more authentic, especially in an authentic world that we live in right now.
You are truly authentic and just wonderful to talk
you.
with. I learned so much. Got my Post-it note down here of the things that we talked about, and we'll share it with others. And that's the mark of somebody who's authentic. You're amazing. Thank you so much for today, Michelle.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks. We'll be right back. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.